Hello, good evening, and welcome to the world of My Little Pony, My Little Pony. That looks like it's very pleased to see somebody as well. Rapid dash. Right.
Hello.
Welcome to the world of myself and Wayne. Party on, Wayne. It's been a long 2 weeks, and I do apologise. I had to have, as you know, cancer operation, and then Christ knows what else. I'm a lot better. They got all the cancer. I had my second COVID jab. I've got a stamp somewhere on my ass that says I can go everywhere in the country. So I'm cool now. And you?
Yeah. Been a rather eventful week, especially over the last 24 hours.
Yes, it has for you, hasn't it? Yeah.
Just recently, I've been speaking with a production company, along with my director from Truth Beyond Paranormal, and production company, Physiology Productions, would like to work with us and put us on a bigger platform. So
did I say you could advertise your shit? No, I didn't.
Yes, you did, or you wouldn't have asked me.
You better have me in one of those episodes, I'm telling you.
Well, you know, you're more than welcome to come down next Saturday with us and come to Dunwich.
I'm down in Somerset next Saturday, aren't I?
Next Saturday?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm coming to thingy Vandlesham Forest with you, though, aren't I?
You can do, yeah.
Right.
But we're doing an episode next week, Dunwich Beneath the Waves.
Oh yes, is that the one where you can hear the bell occasionally?
Supposedly, superstition with the local fishermen was if you hear the bell ringing, you don't go out to sea fishing, because it's a warning of something to come. So they tend to not go out. But
hey, James.
The problem
James is in the chat room, says hello.
Oh, hi, James. Sorry. So yeah, a lot of the fishermen wouldn't go out to sea simply because they could hear the bells. But you know, these storms that took the town of Dunwich away into the North Sea was completely demolished. There's nothing left, so there's no way the bells could be ringing. So we're heading off up there. But this production company wants to work with us and get us, put us on Amazon. And then, shockingly, straight after the conversation about that, she turned around and said that they wanted to take on Wayne Seaton Presents Spookinori as well. And we're looking at production for that. Will start next year.
And Reg Cartwright's in as well. Hello, Reg. Like I said, bloody good luck to you, mate. Just don't forget us here. That's all.
Oh, I won't forget the people that have got me where I am. I never do.
What was I going to say? So, what has been happening in the last couple of weeks in the world of UFOs and weird shit?
Quite a bit. In a sense.
A lot of sightings, but some of it I think is, well, quite frank. Like those videos I sent you the link for earlier. Some of those on there were just like so dodgy. When you got somebody continually filming like that and not focusing on something, and then all of a sudden there's something there.
Yeah, I think a lot of the problem now is with a lot of obviously CGI is getting better and better.
Yeah.
You know, as the days go by, CGI improves. But now we've got a different situation arising, and that is drone displays.
Yeah.
On the video that you sent me, 6 minutes, 19 seconds into the video, you see 3 orbs traveling at speed, or not majorly fast or abnormally fast, but they're traveling a distance, and they seem to sort of come in together as one, and then they split up again into 3, and then they keep doing that as they're moving along.
Yeah,
they keep doing that. Now, to me, that could be very easily down to drones.
I do think that a lot of the stuff you see nowadays is drone footage. But there are some. There's the odd one that does make you go, ooh.
Yeah, and it's being able to tell the difference between the different, bits of footage that you get. Yeah. But some of them, the first one, didn't really make much sense to me, simply because the camera was a video.
That's the one I was talking about.
It was a phone, so it was naturally shaking anyway. But oddly enough, I noticed that on some sections of that clip, the UFO was quivering the same time as the camera.
Yeah. And like I say, he kept going,
yeah. But the UFO, the object he was filming, was doing the same thing. That says to me that it was added at a later date.
Yeah, that one it definitely was not an alien. No,
definitely not.
It was an alien.
So it's difficult because you've obviously got to be able to differentiate the difference between, you know, what is real and what is fake. Exactly. And I think it goes right down the line throughout the paranormal, isn't it? You know, even with ghosts, you've got to know what you're looking at, and you've got to know the difference between the real footage and, you know, fake footage.
Well, it's like we were saying about America is supposed to release its full disclosure about UFOs and what craft they've got and tech and this, that, and the other. And one of the high up U.S. Navy, I think it was a U.S. Navy admiral, has said when the report comes out, there's so much stuff in there that people are going to go, "What the fuck?" because it cannot be explained away. So I'm quite looking forward to it if they ever do.
Well, the New Yorker yesterday released an article how the Pentagon started taking UFOs seriously.
Oh,
for decades, flying saucers were a punchline. Then the US government. Then
the US government. Hutchinson is with us this evening as well.
Oh, good evening, Carl. How are you,
Mr.? There he is.
What was it,
Carl? What's his nickname now? Carl. I saw it earlier. What was it? Carl Trunk Meat? I don't know if that's referring to you or your penis, mate. I'm not too sure, but it was Carl. I think it was Carl Trunk Meat. Anyway, sorry, you were carry on.
Yeah, it's basically that April 30th, 2021. So that was yesterday. Yeah. They were saying the US government got over the taboo for some reason. But on May the 9th, 2001, Stephen M. Greer took the lectern at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. in pursuit of the truth of unidentified flying objects, more commonly known as UAPs now. Greer, an emergency room physician in Virginia and an outspoken ufologist, believed that the government had long withheld from the American people its familiarity with alien visitations. He had founded the Disclosure Project in 1993 in an attempt to penetrate sanctums of conspiracy. Greer's reckoning that they featured some 20 speakers. He provided in support of his claims a 492-page dossier called the Disclosure Project Briefing Document for public officials too busy to absorb such a vast tract of suppressed knowledge. Greer had prepared a 95-page executive summary of the Disclosure Project Briefing Document. After some throat clearing, the executive summary began with a brief summary, which included a series of bullet points outlining what amounted to the greatest secret in human history. It basically goes on to say that over several decades, according to Greer, untold numbers of alien aircraft had been observed in our planet's airspace, and they were able to reach extreme velocities with no visible means of lift or propulsion.
Yeah.
And to perform stunning maneuvers at G-forces that would turn a human pilot to soup. Some of these extraterrestrial spaceships have been downed, retrieved, and studied since at least the 40s and possibly as early as 1930s. Efforts to reverse engineer such extraordinary machines had led to significant technological breakthroughs in energy generation. So the truth is now slowly being released, with the likes of the New Yorker releasing what people have believed have been the case for a long time. I think the Pentagon now are starting to actually think, you know, whoops, we've made a mistake. We better start being honest.
I think I'll get to that in a minute, Carl. I think personally they've lied to us for far too long, and now the government said we can't lie to them any longer because everybody's they're a mockery. Everybody's just looking at MPs and going, bollocks, mate. You know,
Yeah.
When you've got the likes of all the South American governments coming out and saying, hey, yeah, we've got aliens, we've got aliens, and we've got this, that, and the other, and the Italians are, and the French are, and the Germans have, so
yep.
It's only really the English and the Americans that are going, oh, no.
Yeah. On December the 16th, 2017, a front page story in the Times, a bloke called Keane, together with 2 Times journalists, revealed that the Pentagon had been running a surreptitious UFO program for 10 years. The article included 2 videos recorded by the Navy of what were being described in official channels as unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP. In blogs and on podcasts, ufologists began referring to the December 20, 2017 as shorthand for the moment the taboo began to lift. Joe Rogan, the popular podcast host, has often mentioned the article, praising Keane's work as having precipitated a cultural shift. It's a dangerous subject for someone because you're open to ridicule, he said in an episode this spring. But now you could say, listen, this is not something to be mocked anymore. There is something to this.
Well, like I say, I mean, you've got all this coming. You've got the full disclosure coming, which is supposed to be next month, isn't it? They reckoned it was going to be a few weeks ago, and we sat here the night before it was due to come out on this show and said they ain't going to do it. And the Saturday that it was supposed to come out didn't happen. And I think their own government, because they screwed themselves up, because their own governmental laws say that I'm sure it's the middle of June. My birthday, funnily enough, is in the middle of June. Lindsay's birthday is next weekend as well. They've got to release it by then, and if not, doing shit.
Yeah, unfortunately, under the Freedom of Information Act, they have a deadline. And if they are not able to comply with that deadline, they do get a buffer. But that deadline comes into play as well. And by law, they have to abide by it. So how much of that disclosure will be doctored? It's...
You're going to get the thing. It's going to be about that thick, and it's just going to have the odd word that you can read, which will be "and," "cat," "dog."
Yeah,
that's it.
You'll get a full page, and most of it will be blacked out, apart from she walked down to put the bin bags away, and that'll be it.
She looked at him and licked her lips and said, "Redacted."
Yeah, this is the wrong page. Hang on, this is from a different book. This is from 50 Shades of Grey. What's going on?
Exactly, mate. 50 Shades of Aliens. Oh, brings probing to a whole new level.
Well, just it is Mr. Grey, isn't it?
Before I do anything, just before I do anything else, sir, suit you. Carl was on about that. 80 miles away from Area 51, and it's a new testing ground, isn't it? But they think that whilst everybody was watching Area 51, all the stuff was taken to down there.
Yeah, but there's also another one in Australia as well.
That's Pine Gap. Pine Gap. We did a show about Pine Gap about two years ago. In fact, Carl, who's in the chat room now, this Carl, he was one of our co-hosts here on the Dark Mirror show, and you were there with Kerry when we did the Pine Gap show, weren't you, Carl? So yes, Pine Gap has some very interesting stuff. And a little known fact about Pine Gap, although it's in Australia, there's one room on the whole of the base where no Australian personnel can go because it's classed purely American, and it's right in the central nerve of the place, and it's where only the top brass can go and talk about things that nobody else is allowed to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's very similar to USAF bases over here. They declare it as sovereign soil, but it's technically not. It still belongs to us. They're just renting the property. Yeah. So it's like RAF Mildenhall. It is an RAF base by ownership. It's just that the USAF rent the property. So once they've finished their lease, they'll move out, and it will go back to being RAF Mildenhall for fully, rather than USAF Mildenhall. But even then, even when you go past on the roads, it always says RAF Mildenhall.
But it's like we were saying, there have, just in the last couple of weeks, there's been so many UFO sightings, not just in America, but all over the world. There was a really good British one. I think it was near Watford, and it was a couple near a roundabout. And they're filming this thing. And I'll tell you what, the UFO in it, or UAP, or whatever you want to call it, reminded me of. Do you remember The Navigator, that film from the 80s?
Flight of the Navigator.
That's it, with the thing talks like that.
Yep.
That's it. Do you remember the shape of the actual ship? Yeah. Well,
it's a bit like a clamshell.
That's right. Oof, suit you, sir. Looks like a clamshell. Did she look like a startled deer, sir? It looked like that. It looked like that. And they're driving along, and you can hear the bloke, because it's the girlfriend filming it, and you can hear the bloke going, "What the fucking hell is that?" You know, and it wasn't added or anything like that. It was quite. Oh, okay. I'll have a look for it later and see if I can send it to you.
Yeah, I mean, there has been a lot. I mean, there was one in Colchester a few years back over what they call it, St. Botolph's roundabout. And I was in that area at the time in my coach, and we had seen a lot of cars just stopping for no apparent reason. But because I'm driving a coach, I can't just necessarily just bring my coach to a stop and start peering out the window when I've got passengers wanting to get home. So obviously I just sat with the traffic and I'm just waiting for it to move. And I'm like, something's not right. They're all looking up. And in the end, I caved in and I looked up and saw these lights just moving off. Didn't think much of it. It wasn't until later on that there was a report came in from about 20 miles away saying that they'd seen a triangular object floating over the village. And as the news report sort of got more in depth and people were replying to that news report, it turned out that it was also seen over the roundabout that I was sitting at.
So you missed it.
1.5 minutes before. So it travelled 20 miles in 1.5 minutes.
So about as fast as I go on my motorbike.
Yeah. So to actually get from Colchester, where we were at the roundabout, to I can't remember what it was, Thorpe Soaking or Kirby Soaking. It was sort of on the coast. It was about 17 to 20 miles away. It literally took an hour, literally 1 hour and 20 odd seconds to get there.
A minute and 20 seconds.
A minute and 20 seconds. It just literally went. Now, in a car, it will take you about 40 minutes to get there, and it did it in 1.5 minutes.
Well, there's a couple of interesting things here. It's gone up in the chat room. Carl says about the base, it's an amazing base. You spend dollars. It has McDonald's and nothing English on the base. I had a visit a few years ago. It was like walking on American soil. And James, do you know what always gets me is that fans of the show know you guys know some strange, bizarre shit. I mean, look, James, we were talking about Flight of the Navigator. The actor got done for bank robbery.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Which actor?
The boy.
What, the little boy?
I think it was the boy. You'd be surprised when you look at a lot of the actors from 80s movies and 70s movies. You look at what the child actors were like then and think to yourself, you know, they're going to do quite well for themselves. And then it turns out that they'd overdosed on heroin or something, or got done for bank robberies. And
well, Chuck from the Goonies now presents the Dark Mirror Show with Wayne. Hey, you guys!
Baby, woo!
Forgot that. Hang on, just for those in the chat room, say hello, my paranormal family. Say hello. So if this thing will, there you go. It's actually focused on you now. Go, hi. And there's Ghost the paranormal pooch, and down there is Yoda the paranormal kitty, who thinks he's a dog, and the other paranormal cat has gone out, I think, and that is the paranormal son over there.
Cushion laying on a kitty, that is.
You like the little green ears, don't you?
Yes.
And the other things Yoda would say after sex.
So yeah. What can I say after that? I don't know.
Bring me a towel.
I mean, like the RAF Mildenhall, I mean, I used to go there every year for the air shows. And it was really bizarre because you go to the bank in Colchester and exchange your pounds for dollars, and then go into the base to watch the air show, and then buy your burgers and your drinks in dollars and cents. You know, it's really freaky.
I'd like to have had a go at that.
I wish they'd continue doing them because they were brilliant. Used to love them displays.
One thing I did want to talk about, because we were supposed to be talking about weird space missions that may or may not have happened, but one of the ones I want to come back to is the one that we spoke about before. Obviously, I had to go and have my operation and stuff. And if I can find the damn thing, I will tell you now. It was Apollo
20.
Was it Apollo 20?
Yeah, Apollo 20.
The search for Spock.
Because originally the Apollo mission stopped at Apollo 17. Apollo 17 was officially the last publicly known mission into space or to the moon. However, there is speculation and rumor that they actually did continue the Apollo program. Originally, it was scheduled to be 20 missions.
Just 1 second. Lindsay's having a glass of red wine along with myself, and she just let Alfie have a taste, and he sat there and went, you puff. You puff.
Originally the Apollo missions were supposed to have stopped at Apollo 20, but they reckoned, or they claimed, that due to the rising costs of getting the Saturn V rocket into space to pursue the missions, they decided to cancel it early. So it stopped at number 17. Or did it? Because 18 and 19, there isn't much information about 18 and 19. So they are claiming that they were just normal satellite launching missions into space using the Apollo.
It's 20 that we're interested in for certain reasons.
Now, 20 is the rumoured return to the moon.
That's right. And there are, if you look hard enough and go on, you'll need to go onto the deep web to have a look at some of these videos. But there are, and I'll do inverted commas, alleged videos taken from the shuttlecraft of it, wasn't there?
Yeah,
flying over craters.
You don't have to go into the dark web or deep web to find these videos. You just need to go to Amazon Prime.
And for those of you who don't have Amazon Prime,
there is the dark web, which I do not advise you to go on the dark web to find these things.
Otherwise, you may be looking at stuff. You'll go,
yes, the hell is that? And you might find the Rothers turning up at your door to arrest you.
The Men in Black.
Because I do not condone illegal acts.
You told me you got the page 37 on the Kama Sutra, mate, so there must have been some illegal acts there.
The Kama Sutra is a public book.
What, with ingredients of how to do things with a hamster?
Oh, you know what Mark's like.
Trust her to hear that.
Yes, don't hear me any other time. Just when I'm in another room talking about sex or anything else.
Did she look like a startled deer in a headlight, sir? Oh,
just a little bit. But yeah, there is a documentary on Amazon Prime, and I'm sure I sent you the link before. Yes, and it actually does go into description about the mission to the moon. But it's not just the moon; it's specifically the dark side of the moon. And in that video, it describes about how there is a network of pipes, strange buildings. There's one supposed to be about 20 miles high that is not naturally formed. It could only be sort of man-built.
Is that the one inside the crater where you can see that needle thing going up?
Yeah, there's a big needle. They've worked it out roughly to be about 20 miles high. That couldn't have been a natural formation of rocks or anything because there's nothing nearby it.
No.
So they're saying it's either a living thing made. Can't say man-made, can I? Because it's not necessarily man that made it. But
well, then it would be an alien made.
Yeah. So it's either been built there or it's been injected into the moon. So it's crashed into the moon in the first place. But it's 20 miles high.
Well, the thing is, there's no gravity, so you're not going to have the forces of gravity at play. So if technically you could build that high or higher.
Apparently, there is gravity on the moon. Apparently, there is gravity on the moon, but it's not that strong. It's nowhere near as strong as the gravity of the Earth, but apparently there is a small amount of gravity there.
Well, I suppose because when you see them bouncing in the videos, the dust comes back down again. So,
but they're bouncing. That straight away says gravity. Otherwise, why are they bouncing?
Would boobies bounce on the moon?
Well, of course. If an astronaut bounces,
I think that has got to be one of the main things for one of the next NASA missions. Whenever they go up on the moon, do boobies bounce? Be it male boobies or female boobies, do they bounce on the moon?
Next time I'm at the International Space Station, I'll see if my moobs bounce up and down in space.
Oh, my milkshake makes it.
It works. It works.
Yay!
But yeah, I mean, obviously, we've seen the alleged footage of the moon landings.
Yes.
In 1969, and you actually see them bouncing.
No, not their boobs. Do you reckon they actually landed on the moon? Get the boobs out of their head now.
I don't know. I'm still out on verdict on that one.
I've seen a lot of photos and I've seen the reflections and things in wrong places. What do you guys in the chat room think? Do you reckon they did actually land on the moon? Whoa.
Plus, I sent you that picture of the museum of the Space Museum.
Oh, yes, the boots.
With Neil Armstrong's boots in the museum and Neil Armstrong's footprints on the moon. They're completely different.
Two totally different soles.
One's a rounded sole on the museum one, and the picture on the moon of his foot is the one with the lines on. And no one has actually given a reason as to why the boots soles are different. Just
before we do anything else, Carl's drinking with a few guys on the base back along, and they said, "Do you want to see a Black Hawk helicopter close up?" So he's bundled into a van and driven to the base at 2 a.m. Got a tour and got to see the helicopter. And he thinks it was Boscombe Down, but he was incredibly drunk. I had my 21st birthday party at Boscombe Down. We got incredibly drunk, and then I was taken down to Bournemouth Beach. Don't remember a damn thing apart from waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning when the seagulls were coming down. That was a hell of a day. There you go.
Well, me and Ethan were offered the opportunity to sit in the cockpit of an Osprey.
I'm glad you changed the wording then.
And Ethan didn't want to, so we just said, "No, you're all right," and we got off.
I'd have been like, "Yes, please." Oh, the Dark Mirror Show would like to wish your son Ethan a very, very happy 12th birthday. Happy birthday, Ethan. Has he gone?
So, no, he's still here. He's sitting here listening.
Happy birthday!
No, I think
Yeah, we literally went into the Osprey, and the pilot asked if me and Ethan wanted to sit in the cockpit, and I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I'd love to." And Ethan's like, "No, I'm all right," and we got off quick.
That's what Carl said about the boots.
Yeah, exactly. But apparently, it's not. Apparently, the museum piece had a board up or a poster saying that was the uniform that he actually went on the moon with. And this is where the conspiracy theorists have jumped on it, because the sign had said that he was wearing that suit when he landed on the moon. That, what Carl says, is probably more like it, that it was his test suit, and that's what's been put into the museum. But it wasn't what the poster originally had said. It originally said that was what he was wearing when he landed on the moon. And all these conspiracy theorists have gone, "Oh, hang on a minute," and that's wrong. It is quite possible that was his test suit, but according to the poster at the museum where the suit is, that wasn't the case.
You guys in the chat room and everybody who's out there watching us on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Do you think that we did land on the moon, or do you think it was a big backdrop and fully staged? I'm on the fence with that one. I do think we have been on the moon, and we're possibly on the moon now, because there's so many different theories, and people say there's a moon, there's a base on the moon, or on the dark side of the moon anyway.
Well, I saw a TikTok the other day, and of course I don't believe everything I see on social media, but there was video footage of an interview with a couple of the astronauts on the ISS, and he accidentally let slip.
Oh yes, is that the one you showed me?
Where he turned around and said, "This is as far as humankind has been able to get."
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't let something like that slip. So that just added to the conspiracy theorists, you know, to turn around and say, us in orbit around the Earth is as far as man has ever gone, has now just completely...
that was a slip up. I do think that was a slip up.
It's a costly mistake if it was.
You know yourself, I mean, we could be out there on an investigation and say something like, "Oh my God, I've just seen Henry VIII. You should see what he's doing with that sheep over there." And conspiracy theorists will just jump on it and come out with all this stuff. And you can put one word out of place, and it'll be jumped on. Like that one when we were doing one of the shows about Yetis and things like that. There's that conspiracy going around that the Earth is a planet, prison planet. And that Yetis are supposedly, what was it, prisoners from other planets, and they're put here to serve out their sentences. Who the hell sits down and thinks this stuff up?
Well, I mean, the thing is that what that astronaut said would make sense with some other physics theories. Because there is one physics theory about the Van Allen radiation belt.
Yeah.
That human beings or living matter cannot go through that Van Allen belt because it will kill you.
But
and the definition of the Van Allen radiation belt is it's a zone of energetic charged particles, most of which originate from the solar wind, that are captured by and held around the planet by that planet's magnetic field. Earth has two such belts, and sometimes others may be temporarily created. So if that's the case, that human beings cannot pass through the Van Allen belt, that would mean they didn't get to the moon.
But also, on the flip side of that, if there is a Van Allen belt on our planet, then that surely means that there are on other Earth-like planets. And if there are aliens out there, how did they get to leave their planets?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the claim again is that you can't get through the Van Allen belt, but the Apollo missions are obviously flipping that and saying, well, we got to the moon, so we must have gone through the Van Allen belt. But then the counteraction to that is, but did you really land on the moon?
I don't know if you're watching what's in the chat room there, but they're talking about conspiracy theories. And James has said, "Oh, David Icke." I got one thing to say. That bloke is an idiot.
Yeah.
He says that all disabled people are disabled because they did stuff wrong in a former life, and when we were reborn, we were punished for it. In that case, I was a compulsive masturbator. I must have been.
Glenn Oddle said the same thing, didn't he?
And that's another. They both read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, I reckon.
Yeah. Something like that. But yeah, I mean, there are several radiation hazards known by mission planners, so that they sort of try to plan the missions around it. But it's difficult because when you've got the Van Allen belt runs from north to south pole, south to north pole.
It's magnetic shielding, isn't it?
It goes around like that.
That's right.
So you have two belts either side. And you can't really sort of plot a course through that because its weakest point is the north and south pole.
Yeah.
But we don't launch rockets from the north or south pole.
They also reckon that that's where the entrances to the hollow earth are, supposedly.
Yep.
And as James has said, Oh no, Mark Atkin. Spaceships used to go. Oh, hiya, Mark. Spaceships used to go to the moon. Only had paper thin bodywork. So how did they protect against radiation?
Exactly.
Somebody somewhere is not being totally honest with us.
Exactly. I mean, sorry, Palmer Violet attack there. I mean, all you got to do
while it's there
is look at any of the footage of the SpaceX going up, and then once the first stage is disconnected and starts coming back to Earth, and it shows you the live feed from the fuselage of the rocket.
Yeah.
Look at the fins shake like crazy.
Yeah.
You know, they're not solid fins. They are wobbling. The panels are wobbling. I mean, obviously, when the first SpaceX went up, someone was saying there's a rat running around by the engine cover. Look, and you could see this object moving backwards and forwards. And they're like, no, that's a valve. That's a valve. It's opening and closing, depending on how much fuel it needs to burn. And it was this valve you could see moving around the cone, that you could see moving backwards and forwards to measure the amount of fuel that was being burnt. And everybody thought it was a rat. And they go, oh, it's a rat, it's a rat. You're like, yeah, okay, this thing's just going off into space. That rat's really going to be running about, isn't it?
The hamster slipped the wheel.
Yeah. So.
Well, yeah, Apollo 20, because we've gone completely, like we normally do, off track. Apollo 20 supposedly went to the dark side of the moon, downed, would you call it a mothership? Because it was bloody big, I know that.
That's what they claimed. It was a mothership.
In a crater. Yeah, and there's some pretty convincing photos out there showing this thing. One where the ships come in and it's got the camera underneath and it's taking the video as it's going, and then allegedly found this humanoid Chinese-looking lady with weird scaffolding all around her face, who was the pilot or captain of the ship, dead. Obviously, she's on the moon, and it was all to do with that. And there are some good videos out there, but same with the alien autopsy videos. It's you know, is it true, isn't it?
It's a bit of a weird one, because the way my brain would look at it, and being sort of like looking at the scientific side of things, if I was on a mission to the moon and I was specifically being sent to the dark side of the moon to where these alleged craft are situated,
I
don't think I would be landing on the moon, walking to this spaceship and just waltzing in there willy-nilly.
What's he talking about?
Speed, and is it not about speed and angle?
I think he may have possibly been watching Readers' Wives on the other channel and then slipped back on this.
It's possible what Carl is talking about is the speed and angle of launch or re-entry.
For those of you who don't know,
I did say re-entry.
Off. For those of you who don't know, Carl and I have been friends for years, and he used to be a co-host on the show with us a few years ago. And he knows I will always take the mickey.
But
Hello,
I don't think I would be sort of literally just landing on the moon, strolling up to this spaceship, waltzing in like I'm a tourist, and start going, oh, look at that, oh, look at that.
Well, apparently they already knew it was there. When I was reading all the stuff about it and checking into it, they already knew it was there, and that's why that Apollo 20 mission was done, so that they could go and
but it was over and done with way too quickly, as far as I'm concerned.
That's what she said.
Yeah,
she just agreed with you in the background.
Do you mind?
I'm not saying a word.
Yeah, I know, but you're saying yes at the same time. Mark's asking a question or saying something, and it makes it sound like what you're saying is a reply to what Mark's just said.
It was over all too quickly. Yes.
Oh, do you want to know what I have to say?
Go on.
But yeah, I think it was, the mission was way too quick for what they had to do.
Yeah.
I think it was way too quick. And then when you look at the
I
actual
agree with that,
footage,
yeah. I agree with that.
the actual footage itself just looks too set up.
I do agree with that.
I think it was done on purpose to activate the conspiracy theorists and to keep the conspiracy theorists guessing at what's going on.
Could it have taken them away from what's actually up there? Because as we all know, can't you know the thing about the Jamaican aliens who were sitting back in the bleachers with a reefer watching Neil Armstrong and that on the moon going, yeah man, they got here now, oh soon come, good run-ins. That's where it came from, the little green men with the spliffs. But was that Apollo 20 mission done as a smokescreen to cover up what's already there? Because as you know yourself, there's supposed to be an alleged multi-species base on the dark side of the moon.
Yeah, I mean, there is no doubt that there is something up there because amateur astronomers have pointed their telescopes and cameras at the moon, and they have seen things on the surface of the moon that do not make any sense whatsoever.
There's some very convincing videos.
Objects with straight lines, and actual buildings, the spire itself that's 20 miles high.
Yeah.
And they know full well that these things are there on the moon.
Yeah.
But it's the way that everybody else is keeping so tight-lipped about it that will always keep the conspiracy theorists going with their allegations.
And talking of conspiracy theorists, first of all, they reckon that the Chinese are going to be up there with a joint base with the Russians. We'll see. But what were you talking about earlier about what the Chinese have allegedly been up to?
Yeah, well, it's all in. I'm trying to piece this all together because it seems rather strange that although we've got all this business with coronavirus and we had all this business with Trump, all sort of came around the same time. Now, I've just seen a bizarre link, call it a conspiracy theory, call it whatever you like.
I'm sorry, but his wig was an alien. It was. His toupee, there'll be hell to pay, was an alien.
In September last year, China launched and landed a space plane.
That's right.
Now, this space plane is rumored to almost be identical to the X-37B, which is Boeing and NASA's new unmanned aircraft.
So where did they get the schematics and plans from to copy that?
Exactly. The rumor is that both planes are very similar to each other. They both were launched into space. They both went around for a couple of days in orbit, and then they came back. Obviously, China's one went off on the Long March 2F rocket on the Friday, September the 4th, and it then landed a few days later. But the allegation is that...
We'll get to that in a minute, Carl.
It actually released something into orbit at the same time. Now,
our orbit.
But no one knows what it is. China will not say what it is. So they're sort of being a bit about it.
Like the coronavirus accidentally coming out of a top security lab. Yes, I'm sure it did.
Yeah. And then also in May last year, before the Chinese managed to launch theirs, the Americans launched the X-37B. And that went off at 5,000 miles per hour into orbit on the back of the Atlas V rocket. That shot up, that went off, and again, what's it doing in space? And nobody will actually say what it was doing up there last year. It had a payload.
Yes, it
rumors,
did, yes.
The rumors were that the payload was something to do with what was it? Power beam weapon or power beam technology.
Well, it's supposed to be part of the Space Force, isn't it?
Yeah. And this is all being done with and dealt with by the US Air Force. Now, normally it's NASA.
Yeah.
but the US Air Force are involved, so they reckon it had something to do with monitoring other countries or satellites.
It's got to be Space Force then, because that doesn't come under NASA jurisdiction.
Yeah, and then there's obviously the rumor about the power beam weapon, which is there. One of the experiments that the X-37B did was the effects of radiation on seeds and other materials, which to me doesn't make sense. Why would you send?
They're always doing that though. I remember every other shuttle mission had seeds going up.
Why would you send an unmanned vehicle into orbit to do tests on seeds and other materials when you've had the Soyuz rockets going up and doing tests in space? You then had the Saturn V with the Apollo missions doing the same thing in the command modules. Then you had the space shuttle. Then you had the International Space Station. You know, all of these tests were all done on all these previous missions at the same time. So why all of a sudden use an unmanned vehicle that can be reused to test seeds on radiation?
Also, another thing I've thought of before, I'm going to get onto the Carl's helicopter in a minute. Another thing I've just thought of is, you know, a lot of the sightings have been of triangle-shaped craft.
Yeah.
And there's been all these videos of night finders or night range finders finding these things. Do you think some of these are the supposedly TR-3B new craft that's being tested?
Yeah. I mean, well, you look at all the other ones that have been done, the stealth bombers and the stealth fighters. Look what shape they are.
Well, the TR-3B is supposed to be a triangle, and it's supposed to have a totally new propulsion system that no one knows about.
Exactly. I mean, well, it's been classed as an anti-gravity spacecraft, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get at. Is it supposed to be anti-grav?
Yeah, it doesn't exist officially, but it uses highly pressured mercury accelerated by nuclear energy to produce a plasma that, when you want to stop saying, do you want to subscribe, produce a plasma that creates a field of anti-gravity around the ship. Conventional thrusters located at the tips of the craft allow it to perform all manner of rapid high-speed maneuvers along all three axes. Interestingly, the plasma generated also reduces radar signature significantly, so it will be almost invisible on radar and remain undetected. This literally means that it can go to any country it likes without being detected by air traffic control and air defense systems.
That's right.
And obviously it is triangular shaped, and a lot of the newer videos that have just recently been released are triangular shaped objects.
Yeah, and the ones that are supposedly swarming the US ships are triangular ships. Are triangular shaped.
But you see, we shouldn't be talking about it because officially it don't exist.
Yes, none of it exists. None of it is real at all.
It doesn't exist.
The helicopter on Mars that Carl's talking about, he's talking about that rover that landed that has a helicopter in it. Have you seen the video footage that was taken of it? They were testing the helicopter out. They put it out, and then the rover came back and they tested it up and down, left, right, watch it, you know, whatever. There was something in the sky behind the main vehicle watching, and they didn't realize it had been, when the cameras underneath were filming, it captured it in the sky coming across, and then this thing stopped and watched them. And the weird thing is when you zoom in on the object in the sky, it looks like, and I shit you not, because I looked at it myself, those of you who know Star Wars will know what Boba Fett will know what Boba Fett's ship, the Slave One, looks like. And this thing in the sky literally looks like Slave One, up like that, with the two little wings coming out the side. It looks just like the Slave One, and it's got lots of different colors on it. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen that footage. I mean, the only piece of footage I saw was the first test, and the reception on it was that bad. I think I must have been watching it live, because 1 minute it was like that, and then within a split second it was up here.
Well, all the cameras on the new rover, all the cameras on the new rover are UHD, Ultra HD, and this thing it's quite a way back, but you can see it as a dot coming along, and then it stops, and it hovers and it's watching. and then somebody zoomed in on it. And when you look at the zoomed in one, it looks just like Boba Fett Slave One. Because I looked at it and I'm like, that reminds me of something. No way! You know,
Yeah, they were heading down to the supermarket, and they went, "Oh, hang on a minute, what's that?"
Yeah. Boba Fett says he's put on a little bit of weight over the years, but you know he's got his suit back and everything. He's all right. He's looking for Baby Yoda.
But I mean, that is the thing, you see, because now we are starting to venture further afield. The technology is there now to actually provide better video coverage. What I want to see is I actually want to see live video coverage of a man landing on the moon and eventually on Mars.
Well, there is a rumor that there are going to be boots not just on the moon but on Mars within the next couple of years. It's supposed to be highly hush-hush, but
there needs to be, but obviously it's got to be in a vehicle that is going to be financially viable, because at the moment, you know, without the correct engines in place, and it's not been until obviously SpaceX with Falcon 9 and the Dragon capsule has made it a lot more affordable than NASA ever could, and that's why SpaceX are taking over on everything.
Well, there's the two new engines that have been invented, isn't there? There's the Impulse engine that actually does do like they say on Star Trek. Impulse actually works like an impulse engine, so it could do like 25,000, 30,000 miles an hour, whatever. And as we discussed here on the show a few weeks ago, there's now hopefully going to be a warp engine invented, and they know they can do it. So
they reckon that is going to be possible within 15 years. They'll have a working engine.
As soon as we hit warp, we know damn well we're going to get people pointy ears coming down and go, "Mark, where's the alien guy? Mark, there." And Wayne, right, guys, come here. Welcome to the club.
The problem is if the technology advances that much to that sort of stage, it may come to a case where they may come here to warn us.
Well, they've already been floating around our nuclear weapons for the last 30 years, and they don't like us having them. I don't blame them either. I don't like us having them.
Humankind has always existed on war and brutality and ownership.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And religion around war and everything else. And if I was an alien race, I'd be sitting there going, do I really want that up here?
Well, the two main things in the world that cause wars are religion and politics. That's why I'm not religious and I don't do politics.
Yeah. You know, they see the way we are because they know by our everyday lives what we're capable of doing, and they're going to sit there and go, do we really want that up here?
Well, when you watch, as Carl said in the chat room, First Contact, when you watch Star Trek First Contact, they talk about the first warp-capable engine and ship was made out of a defunct nuclear weapon, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I refer to, I think it was Dave Clark.
The Dave Clark 5? That's before our time.
He did a musical in the 80s called Time.
Yes, yeah.
And my mum went to watch it when it had Cliff Richard in it. And because it hello. I just come
sounded like Ian McCaskill then. Hello.
Yeah. Yes. There isn't going to be a hurricane tonight. It's going to be lovely weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buggered that up.
She went to see Time the Musical with Cliff Richard, and because it was space themed and it was right up my street, so she said, "You've really got to go to it."
Yeah.
And I went and watched it, and I was absolutely blown away with it. But the message that was there was so powerful. David Cassidy went and ruined it after Cliff Richard finished, so it only did a short spell. But the album itself is available on iTunes. Nice little plug there. Thank you, Dave Clark. I'll have the money. It is amazing, and the words and the speeches, the music that's in there.
What's the message?
The message is the fact that humankind has got no right being in space when we can't sort out our own problems.
Exactly.
We don't.
It's all about greed on this bloody planet, unfortunately. Yeah, get rid of the politicians.
I mean, there's a character in there called Melchizedek, the Time Lord, and he is responsible for bringing charges against the Earth for the way we are.
Yeah.
And he actually states that we don't want your problems here. And that is why they're sent to the Andromeda Galaxy on trial. And they've got to prove to these three judges that the Earth is capable of change, is capable of being with the rest of the universe.
The trouble is, we are capable of change. Oof! We are capable of change, and we are capable of getting on with people. But whilst you've got every single country having its own government, we all know, I'm not going to mention names or the governments, but we all know most politicians are corrupt. We all know most governments are corrupt. And whilst you've got all these different governments, you're going to have corruption, you're going to have greed. And it's that corruption and that greed that fuels all the hatred between the big players. And until people sit down and go, do you know what? It's not worth hating about this. If we all got together and put our technology together and stuff, we'd be up there by now.
Yeah.
That time people did that instead of all this crap.
But it's weird when you look at something that was written in the 80s, and they're saying that, you know, obviously this Melchizedek has turned around and said that the main reasons why the trial is going is because we've got famine, we've got pollution, we've got war, and all of that, and they've got, you know, all that time in advance and saying that, you know, they're right, you know, what we're doing is wrong. And one of the things that Laurence Olivier says, he's one of these, he plays a character called Akash, and he's like this big floating head on the stage, and he turns around and he says that the biggest sources of energy that remain on this planet are almost untapped, the sea and the sun, and yet we're not using it. And then all of a sudden there's a sudden spate of, oh look, solar panels, oh look, wind energy, oh look, turbines in the sea. You know, all this renewable energy stuff all of a sudden starts popping up. But Dave Clark was writing about this back in the 80s, and you're like,
well, in the 80s, we were all worried there was going to be a thermonuclear war, weren't we? Again, between the big players. We shouldn't be doing that.
We were all too busy. We were all too busy heading down to whatever supermarket to buy the next shell suit.
Christ, do you know what? You know, I've been a biker for years. I've always ridden motorbikes, and I can remember when the shell suits came out. The only good thing I ever did with a shell suit was I'd wear it underneath my bike gear, because the only part of you that ever got cold was your kneecaps if you had one of them on.
Yeah.
Anyway, Will, what do you think of rewilding the UK? Would you like to expand on that a little bit, please, young man?
Yeah.
And as James Steele has said, humans would be the Asbo family of the universe. We already are, mate. What are you on about?
And to be honest, I think if there was to be like first contact, obviously
don't do it with the government. If you're listening out there, whoever's watching us, if you want to do first contact, come and see one of us. Don't see world leaders. No.
Obviously, the most popular belief is that if there is another race or another species out there, they're going to be thousands of years ahead of us. Now, the chances are going to be, if they are thousands of years ahead of us, they have got over this wanting of destruction and constant war with each other. So there's more likely to be, like in Star Trek, a federation. There's going to be unity amongst planets. And they're going to look at us and go, do we really want them to be part of our group? Do we want them to be friends with us, knowing what they're capable of doing? And it will be down to them to actually weed out who are the responsible beings to be entrusted with that knowledge. And it certainly ain't down to our governments.
No, it's not. Keep anything that's to do with first contact or out of there, don't get the governments involved, because they're too bloody greedy. Get rid of fossil fuels and make everything eco-friendly, and a lot of that will disappear. Anyway, so Mark, what's your thought on mashed potato? What are you talking about, Carl? You've been at Delvino again. What are you on about, mate? And Will, bringing about animals that used to live in the UK to come back, like wolves and bison, that I actually think is a good idea, because I know up in Scotland they've reintroduced the wolf into certain parts. Down in Somerset they've reintroduced angry beavers. And in fact, I've seen a wild beaver or two in my time. down in Somerset. Yes.
Mersey Island, which is just down the road, Colchester, not to be mistaken with Mersey, as in Merseyside, Liverpool area. Mersey Island, home of the oysters, has been, I think, 27 red squirrels been introduced to the island.
Oh, good.
That was back in 2012, and the numbers have increased. And it was, thanks in the background. You're not wanted. No, you've interrupted enough.
Can you see the little orange head in the background there?
You keep playing with your poppy thing that ain't even yours. They were introduced many years ago.
Hold up. No, hang on. Just one thing. I've just realised what the bloody hell Carl Hutchinson is on about with mashed potato. You, sir, are a bastard. Take my little hand. Oh, it's my strong hand. You wait. I'll see you. Right, carry on, mate.
Oh my God.
Yeah, apparently the numbers have increased again, but the only reason why they had to reintroduce the red squirrel was because the grey squirrel was introduced to the country, which killed them off.
Yes, that's right.
So they've reintroduced the red squirrel, and on the funny side of things, they actually did try to reintroduce wolves into Colchester.
There's enough bloody wolves roaming about Colchester as it is.
No, honest, they did. They tried to reintroduce the wolf into the Colchester.
Colchester? That's too near human habitation.
Yeah, but the only reason why that was because the wolves at Colchester Zoo escaped and they had to shoot them to get them back in again. They did. A couple of the wolves actually made it to the main road.
7 of them escaped.
As James has said, squirrels can be the food for the big cats running wild. We did a show, I don't know if you remember, James, a while back about big cats in the UK. And we were saying when we used to live in Somerset, myself and both my daughters, we've seen two. We've seen a big black one with the biggest damn tail I've ever seen in my life. It was longer than the body of the cat. And there was like a beigey puma type thing 2 fields away having a drink out of a brook that we saw once. So, and the police have got a book with all the sightings in it, and they know that there's quite a few big cats wild in the West Country. It's well known.
The thing is, it's when you look at it, it's a bit weird actually, because we've gone from talking about aliens and space missions, we're now talking about
it's a Dark Mirror show.
We're now talking about cryptids, which is pretty bizarre. It's like with Bigfoot and Sasquatch. If you're an animal that people will try chasing after, you are going to be heading for cover. You're not going to want to be seen. You're going to want to hide out of the way. And that's why these so-called sightings of these big black cats are very rare, because they don't want to be seen. They don't want to be caught. They don't want to be stuck in a cage.
They're real, and they are definitely out there. It's like parakeets in London, where we lived in London. Wild parakeets. They used to come on our windows here, didn't they? The green ones. Yeah. Ringnecks, weren't they? Yeah. Ringneck parakeets, and there's thousands of them in and around Ealing and all that area.
Yeah, I know we've got quite a few Yetis in Colchester, but they don't. They're not. They don't hide out the way. They just walk down the high street. And, you know, it's.
Was it me without my t-shirt on again?
No, we've got the peacocks.
Oh, we've had peacocks around Colchester and Wivenhoe for a long time.
Carl, look, Carl, we're not going down the avenue of innuendo and smut.
Carl, are you being rude?
Oh, suit you, sir. Oh,
was the big pussy running after the beaver?
Oh, was a big pussy. I'll have some of that. Give me a couple of them. Oh,
you're safe. It's after 10 o'clock.
Safe
after the watershed. We're all right.
Yeah, we all. That's why we start at 9, because of swearing and stuff.
Is it all right if we have a "this is for entertainment purposes only" banner put up at the beginning as well?
I swear, one day it's going to end up with somebody somewhere is just going to. Well, I won't say names, but somebody's going to get our address and then start posting things in. Does this go wild in the country?
Just had a random phone call from a mobile number in the middle of the night.
As you do.
Oh, no, it's not. It's a taxi for Ellen's mum.
I thought I saw somebody else come out of your loo earlier, and it wasn't Ellen.
Bye-bye. See you later. All right.
Bye-bye, Mrs. Wayne.
Right.
Mrs. What?
No, it's Ellen's mum.
Bye-bye, Mrs. Ellen Senior.
Ellen's mum and Ellen's niece.
Bye-bye, Ellen's niece.
She says goodbye.
How are Ellen's knees getting away once she fall over?
No, they're getting in a taxi, so...
What about her feet? 'Cause if her knees are going, surely her feet got to fall.
Yeah, feet must be. She's just dragging herself to the door now.
That's the alcohol.
But anyway, where were we?
And one thing I meant to ask,
Oh.
what do you reckon one day if we get Carl Hutchinson on here as well to join us? Because
yeah.
I do miss. No, not next weekend, but I do miss because he was known for we'd do a show and he'd have a rant for about 5 minutes. And me and Kerry would just sit back and we'd have a glass of wine or whatever. And we'd let him go. It sounded like the Triffid from the adventure game back in the 70s, you know? And you remember that? And then he'd be like, right, I've got that off my chest now. But he was just saying earlier, he's missed all this. So it's like,
Yeah.
Carl, if you want to, you can join us for a future show if you like.
Yeah. He's just asked a question, actually. So what's your view on the Red Lion in Colchester?
I've done an investigation there years ago.
To my knowledge, Carl, last October, November, I think it was before the last lockdown, myself and Truth Beyond Paranormal team, it is believed that we are the only team that have been able to film an episode or film anything in there without any outside pollution. And that was because under the tier system, Essex police were rounding everybody up at 10:30 and kicking them off the high street. So we actually managed to spend a whole night in the Red Lion with no disturbance whatsoever from outside interference or anything. We picked up some really good footage, including down in the basement where we had something watching us. We got it on live feed. We got it on still shot camera footage. It was quite nerve-wracking, to say the least, especially when we turned the lights on and all there was a load of brown cardboard boxes there, yet there were two eyes watching us in the basement on live feeds.
I can tell you a little story about that place.
It's
mine. Sorry.
It's a very mysterious place with a lot of history to it. And obviously living in Colchester as well, I'm going past it all the time, and I love the place.
Mine and Lindsay's first ever paranormal investigation together, because I've done previous ones years ago, was the Red Lion, wasn't it? I won't say who it was with. I won't say who was there. There was a gentleman who is quite high up in the paranormal field, who I think, my own personal feelings, he's a complete bloody charlatan. We were in the middle of doing an investigation. All of a sudden, he throws himself backwards, doesn't realise there's a table there, and gets the corner of the table on his back and scratches. I filmed it, had it all filmed, and it was on voice recorder as well. And I love doing investigations, but I didn't like doing it with that particular person because I don't like it when people fake it. If you're going to fake it, don't do it.
I like this. Carl has just said, I've investigated the place 20 or so times, and not once of them did he contact me and say, hey, Wayne, do you fancy joining me at the Red Lion?
Well, yeah, but the trouble is, if Wayne said, if Carl says, do you fancy joining me at the Red Lion, it's probably not going to be for an investigation. It's just going to be for an almighty piss up.
Will he be the only one drinking? I don't drink.
I'll join you. I'll have your share. Okay. The Red Lion has got some interesting stuff going on, apart from what I saw, but it has got some genuine stuff.
Yeah, it has got a lot of serious stuff. I mean, we were standing at the reception talking to the receptionist, and some black shadow literally walked past me and my director's other half, Marcus. We're standing there talking to the receptionist, and we clearly saw the figure of a woman walk past the reception to our right. And we're like, well, what was that? But there was no doors opening or closing or anything. Yet it clearly walked past us into a side room. And I'm like, okay. And that was a bit strange. And then obviously what we had in the basement. And it was actually nice to investigate in there without any outside interference.
Yeah.
You know, obviously with the nightclubs kicking out at 2:00 in the morning, the whole night is just awash with outside interference, and it's horrible to investigate in there while that's going on.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be. Oh, he's gone. We're talking about spooky stuff and ghosties and ghoulies. No, not you. The dog's called Ghost, and she went, you? And Wayne's gone. Wayne, come on, come back. Carl, we've got to do an investigation together again, mate, because I really do like enjoy doing those. What am I doing? We're doing. No, you're not. You don't want to do it, can you? I'm doing the ancient ramen.
Excuse me, I can't.
Yeah, because we need a babysitter. I'm doing the ancient ramen the end of June, and I'm also doing RAF Netishead. Is it Netishead? RAF Netishead the day after. So that'll be interesting. The aliens took him, definitely. He's back! He's back! He put 50p in the meter. Yay! There he is! You keep that covered, for Christ's sake. Somebody will have a go.
Sorry, it's the vaccine talking.
I have both vaccines and I'm fine now.
Anyway, where were we?
The red line.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, because it was all lockdown, pre-lockdown, they were doing the tier system. We had Essex Police literally did a walking barricade right the way down the high street and cleared everybody off. Yeah. And by 11 o'clock, the whole Colchester High Street was absolutely barren. It was empty as anything. And that provided what we needed to actually film for our episode. And it was because it was so quiet. All you could hear what was going on inside the building.
Didn't we had that with the Haunted Antiques Paranormal Research Centre, didn't we? It got to a certain time of night and you got a nightclub one end and you got a pub the other end. So it was one of the best investigations I've done in a long time, actually. But really good. And then you got going on out the front and fights, and there's like 30-old Bill out there and this, that, and the other. And we've all come out because this is when she used to smoke. We've all come out and I'm yapping. I don't smoke. And I'm yapping away, and we're all in the same gear, you know, wearing all the paranormal stuff, and there's all these business going, oh fucking hell, you fake, yeah, you know. And then once they got cleared off and it quietened down, it was all right, wasn't it?
I mean, I was there with I got invited up as a guest with Sam Bennett and Joanne Traherne, and their group, and we were down in the basement, and you could hear everybody walking over the beer cellar entrance from outside, the old barrel chute. And of course, it's like the metal panels, and they're all walking across it. And for some unknown reason, I had a really evil thought came into my head, and I stood underneath the entrance to this barrel run, and I literally, someone was walking along, a couple of girls and a bloke, and I literally banged on the underneath and went, "Hey kid, you want a balloon?" And that was it. The two girls screaming their head off, and all we then heard was the bloke go, "Oi, come back, you bitches!" That was it, and he shot off. And I thought, oh my! And everybody in the cellar was absolutely pissing themselves laughing because I'd done the Pennywise the Clown routine, and they scared the living daylights out of these girls. And I wanted to do it again the last time we were there, but of course, because the police moved everybody on by 11 o'clock, it was empty. I didn't get the chance.
Do you know? I think, talking of all this, what I think the show is we should do to have Carl on with us.
Yeah.
Funny things that have happened on our investigations.
Oh my God.
Because I can certainly think of quite a few things. Carl can certainly think of quite a few things, and you can certainly think of quite a few things.
Don't know.
Reckon that'd be a good one?
Yeah.
And you invited me to Rendlesham Forest as the alien guy, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, hello. You could have come to Dunwich next week if you wanted to, but obviously that's a bit late notice, isn't it?
I'm, like I say, it's Lindsay's birthday next weekend, so we're in Somerset.
Oh, definitely not, yeah. No. On.
Oh.
But yeah, we will be filming the Rendlesham Forest at some point before the summer. And obviously we've got the War of the Worlds immersive experience to sort out. So
yep, definitely want to go to that.
I got a nice little message from Kevin Clifton from Strictly Ballroom. He's appearing as the artilleryman in next year.
Your shoes are ready. You can't wait to take you for a twirl.
Yeah. And it's because he's playing the artilleryman in next year's tour. And I said on there about, it was stated by Jeff Wayne and War of the Worlds how, you know, the team are coming together nicely for it. And the 30-foot Martian is ready to be fixed up onto the stage and things like that. And I put on there, yeah, great, can't wait. Me and my son still talk about when we met Mr. Wayne at the O2. Yeah. And Kevin Clifton liked it, and he went, "Oh, good, maybe we can recreate that picture."
Well, you let me know, because I need to sort it out so I can buy a ticket and everything. So
yeah. Well, they range in prices, so you know they range from, I think, £39 up to £140. The more expensive ones, they're the ones that include a meal and that afterwards. So yeah. And a goodie bag.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, it's still rated as one of the top tourist attractions in London. So they've literally done some something special to actually get that accolade.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll get a babysitter for the night. Me and Linz will come down. Linz and Ellen can have a girly night, and we can bugger off and go and watch that.
The thing is, for us, it'll be a boy day, because the immersive experience goes throughout the day, because it's all indoors. That's
fine with me.
So, and then obviously, if you want to do War of the Worlds, the tour, that's on next year. So,
and I have,
yeah, in the bathroom. Yeah. So yeah, Ellen decided to butt in again. No, she was just concerned about Athan's inhaler, because he's had to have an inhaler. So
I was just about to say, seeing as we've gone 15 minutes over, we should take a night for now. I love it when we do, and I like it when everybody gets involved, and it's been really good tonight. Thank you, everybody. Everybody's been firing questions and throwing in their little bits in the chat room stuff, and that is what we like. So keep it up.
Indeedy.
I will be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow with Taylor May with the Rearview Mirror Show and another top 10 list of weird and wonderful stuff out there. Next week. Now, can we do the show on the Thursday night? Because I have got to drive to Somerset Friday.
I think we can. I've got, because I'm doing a small mini live documentary on Truth Beyond Paranormal for about elves, goblins, and fairies, myths and legends.
What, my in-laws?
On the Wednesday. So yeah, I think we can get away with doing the Thursday.
Okay. All right, then we'll do that on the Thursday then, if that's all right. So we'll be back tomorrow, and then we'll be back on Thursday with more nonsense from Arnold Rimmer there, and and myself, the bold alien guy. Aliens. So on that note, I hope you enjoyed the show. Everybody out there and everybody on YouTube.
It's cold outside. There's no
kind of atmosphere. We need to get a theme tune done for the Dark Mirror Show. Anybody who wants to put one together, let me know. That'll be brilliant.
Oh, don't ask your co-presenter stroke composer if you could do one.
Well, I didn't know you could do that. Okay, could you put together a theme tune for?
Have a look on my YouTube videos and look up Euphoria 1, and you will find my very own theme tune.
Well, if you could possibly do one for the Dark Mirror Show, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much, Albin.
And it's space themed.
So do one for this show.
You can use that one.
Okay, thank you.
I'll get something done up.
Thank you. Smoke me a kipper, yes.
Yep. Smoke me a kipper, skipper. I'll be back for breakfast.
And that is a compliment in itself. Always a great show. Great people. Stay safe, guys. Bless. I think Carl's probably by this time the Jack Daniels has gone to there, and he's just fallen off the chair. So he's gone lol in the chat room. So I will see you all later. Thank you for all joining us, and I'll see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. with the Rearview Mirror with my youngest daughter, Taylor Aureus, Maylorius. And thank you as ever to Mr. Wayne and Mrs. Wayne for joining us. And of course, the Dark Mirrorettes. I will see you later. Say goodbye, Wayne.
Goodbye, Wayne.
Goodbye.